Welcome to the Not Just Waiting podcast. I'm your host, Reanna Hoffman, and this is a space for women learning to wait well and live fully. Whether you're in the middle of uncertainty, transition, or just figuring out what's next, this podcast is here to remind you you are not behind, not forgotten, and definitely not just waiting. Let's dig into truth, grow in courage, and hold on to hope together. Hey friends, welcome back to the Not Just Waiting podcast. Today I'm joined by Sarah Elliott, an artist, creative entrepreneur, and coach who's passionate about helping women build visibility, confidence, and sustainable income without burning out. She's the founder of Cacti Rebel Studio and Cacti Rebel Coaching, both rooted in purpose, clarity, and bold action. Sarah is a mom of 3 plus 4 fur babies and makes her home in Phoenix, Arizona with her husband. She has such a grounded, practical way of blending creativity, faith, and real life strategy, helping women build businesses and lives that actually works for them. This conversation is honest, encouraging, and full of wisdom for anyone navigating growth, calling, and the tension of the in-between. Let's dive in. Hey friends, welcome back to the Not Just Waiting podcast. I am so glad you guys are here, and I cannot wait to introduce you to my friend Sarah. We met at boot camp last year, which is wild that it's been a whole year, and then we got to reconnect at coaching retreat in December, which is wild that was so long ago. And I'm like, where did all those weeks go? But I love getting to reconnect with you, and I love getting to look at your content because we live really far away from each other. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah,
Like,
because you live on East Coast, right?
yes, like on the East Coast, which was an epiphany to me today because I grew up in deep South Mississippi, and I'm like, yeah, I live in Central America of the North America part. And my husband Jay was like, if you drive 45 minutes, you're in the Atlantic Ocean. I was like, oh, no, I didn't. So
Pure
literally
jealousy. Pure jealousy. Takes me 6 hours to get to the ocean. And then it's the Pacific.
I've never been to the Pacific. I need to add that to my bucket list, or maybe I don't.
You do. Come visit. I'll take you.
Okay, sounds great. Sounds great. Although I hope it's much warmer where you are than it is here. We had a dusting of snow last night.
Ooh. Yeah, it's warmer here. We don't get snow.
Yeah.
The mountains do, but we don't.
What a wild, crazy. Aren't we glad video chats exist for this reason?
Yes.
So right now we are just launching in the past couple weeks our Becoming series. And here on Not Just Waiting, we talk about people that are in waiting seasons, whether they're single, married, waiting for a small person, waiting for a career change, or if they're like 82 and waiting for Jesus to come back. I mean, I think all of us are like, come, Lord Jesus, come. But, everybody's in a waiting season. And we're talking about right now how in that season, a lot of times we're like, okay, God, but like, what are you doing? And we see in scripture a lot of times that he's actually doing all the work in the waiting, and that's who we're becoming. So that's kind of going to be our thought process today as we do the podcast. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Cool. I have a few questions. So question number 1, who do you sense God has been forming you into this season, especially in the ways that weren't visible or celebrated?
I'm in a very interesting season myself. It's a beautiful season. I'm very thankful for the season, but it's very interesting. 6 years ago, we stepped out of full-time ministry. We'd been in full-time ministry. I had been in full-time ministry since I graduated from college. And then, of course, married my husband, and then we had been in full-time ministry together. And we stepped out of that during the pandemic, during 2020, and moved to Arizona, where I reside, where we live. But much of that was spent overseas. We were overseas missionaries. So we kind of went through a really strange season of transition of like, what's life like not being church staff, not being missionaries, not being church staff. Now, do we still minister? Of course, we should always be ministering to all of those around us. The world really is our mission field. So, like, we never stopped those things, but it was just kind of a strange transition to him working like a secular job. And then I started building a business. And then then 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, which I think you know. Maybe you don't know. Okay. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't know if you knew that or not. I was diagnosed with breast cancer. In fact, I had just finished chemo when we met at boot camp.
Uh-huh.
I'd literally finished like a week before that, which was nuts that I made that trip, but I just knew in my heart I had to be there. And so I went through like that whole season, like going through something like that, like going through chemo, like there's tons of waiting. There's waiting for the next scan, waiting for the next result, waiting for the next, like, what's the treatment? What's the, just waiting to feel better, all those things. And I feel like after that, when 2025 came around, then it was kind of like waiting for my body to recover from going through that treatment, from going through all the harshness that is to your body. And I do want to say this so anyone listening is not like, well, what happened to you? Well, I am cancer free now. I've been through 2 scans and I am cancer free. I don't want to leave that part of the story off because then I always get people going, are you okay? So yes, doing wonderful, actually. Praise God. But there was a lot of waiting in that. And then there's been a lot of waiting, like recovering, like getting my life back, so to speak, getting my body back, where I could move and do things and be comfortable and active again and all those things and have energy. Um, so I feel like in all of that, God has really been molding me and shaping me on one, caring for myself. I had always been the woman that took care of everybody else but myself. So I feel like that has been a really big part. You were talking about becoming,
Uh-huh.
that this is your becoming series. And so that like resonated with just me becoming someone who cared for my temple. But I really had to like learn that. I had to learn that this was my temple and or this was his temple, my earth suit, but his temple, and that I needed to care for it well. And I needed to quit defining myself by all of the things I could produce, like all of the things I did. Like that doesn't make me worthy. Is it great that I care for my kids well? Yes. Is it great that we've chosen the path of homeschooling and that's what's best for my children? Yes. But does that make me better than somebody else or more worthy than somebody else? No. That's just the path that God has led us on. Is it
Mhm.
great that I've read this many books this month, or I've read my Bible so much, or whatever. I mean, you insert thing here that all my laundry's done. Oh, by the way, it's not. There's stacks. Okay. You can't see over here, but like out of frame. Yes. Okay. It all needs folded. And then there's a couple baskets full in there. But that's what I mean. Like we're so ingrained to the performance, and social media, I feel like just amps that up. And I think going through the last few years, that is one of the biggest things that God has developed in me is like, stop the performance. It's not a
Mm.
performance. You know, I love you. You're worthy without the performance. Like you don't have to do anything. And God's love is right there. You know, he would have done everything he did on the cross and everything he did, even if we never did anything except just said, yes, Lord. And we never did anything. He still would have done all of that. So like my work for him, my ministry for him, that doesn't define or connect. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like that's really, I think, what the Lord has really like worked in me, I guess. And there are days I still need reminders. I'm like, okay, it's not about performance. It's okay if this doesn't happen today. Um, so yeah.
I love that. I would show you my chills, but my jacket is covering them up. I love what you said because, like, it's so true that we get on this kick that whatever we can produce, whether it is like sometimes it's just I got all the laundry done. And then sometimes it's like I cut this many podcasts and I did this on social media and I sold this much stuff and I made this much this month and then I did this, this, and
Mm,
this. And we get so stuck in that cycle that we do forget that he would have done it anyway. Like, there's nothing
Yeah,
that we can produce as people because we're not the Lord. There's
yes,
literally nothing that we could produce that would make him love us any more than he already does. Like, he already sent Jesus to die and then
exactly,
brought him back. So, like, he's already
exactly.
done it all. But there are definitely those days that you're like, "But I have to do more." So in this
Mm.
season, do you have any, like, practical tips on how you remind yourself, like, "No, he's already done enough?"
Oh, I've really had to, and I'm still working on this, like, full disclosure, but I've really had to, have some build in some new practices, some new boundaries. One thing I've started doing, last October, I joined a gym near my house, and that is an appointment I make with myself, 4 to 5 days a week, depending on schedules, everybody's schedules where I gotta have kids and, things like that. Um, but I do that so that I have a time just to go, uh, be one on my own as not be mama and every other title, but just be me. I love, like, if I'm not doing a class at the gym, I'll have my headphones in and I'll be listening to, like, a podcast or, worship music or something that's, like, filling me up personally.
Mhm,
So that really helps because I get that nourishment that way, but I'm also, like, strengthening my body, which after going through chemo and being, like, physically unable to stand for lengths of time, like, for any lengths
mhm,
of time, for weeks on end, like, it's so amazing to feel strong again, you know? Um,
mhm.
so, like, when we were in book camp, I could barely walk up the stairs to get it, like, that was quite exhausting to walk up the stairs to get into that house, and
Yeah,
now, I'm, like, lifting weights 3 times a week and doing hour-long classes and things, so just like but that's what chemo does to your body, it really weakens you. At the same
mhm,
time, it kills the cancer, but it really weakens you, so I
yeah,
mean, so you have to rebuild. So that was one of the big things, like, I set that time, I made that commitment to myself. Sleep. I have forced myself to not feel like a failure because I need rest. I've really had to, when I say forced, I've, like, retrained my brain, so I've told myself, like, okay, rest is good. Rest is needed. God rested. You can rest. You are not better than God. You can rest too, So, like, I've really had to, like, teach myself that rest is healing. It allows my body to do the healing that it needs. It allows my body to be creative again, because I'm an artist and a creative entrepreneur as well as a coach, and so I need those creative juices. It allows me to deal with my family without being crabby. So me getting a good night's rest is for everybody's good in my sphere. It
yeah,
allows me to have the energy to do the things like cook and clean and all that. But those are just, like, I've had to put those practices in. There are a couple of days a week where I don't have to be anywhere early in the morning. So I will not set an alarm those 2 days. And that way I sleep. Now I don't sleep much later than I normally do on my alarm days, but I may sleep an extra 30 minutes or an hour and I don't feel guilty. Like, I've had to just
mhm,
teach myself not to feel guilty that my body needed that. If it didn't need that, it would have woke up earlier and that's okay.
yeah,
I've also have a few days a week where we're now I homeschool, but we go to a co-op, and so a couple days a week, like, we're rushing out the door. Okay. But the days we're not doing that, I have a slow start morning. I sit out on my back patio. Of course, Arizona, it's nice, and we do not have the dusting you have. I have a pool in the backyard. I'm sitting out. It's relaxing. It's too cold to swim right now, but like, we're just staring at the water. I have my coffee out there or my tea or whatever, and just kind of have that slow start, that relaxing start, things that just nourish me. And I've found that in doing like, putting those practices in, and you can't do it all at once, like, pick a thing and work on that for a few weeks. And then when you get that down, you pick a second thing and you start working on that. I started with rest, allowing myself rest, and then I've started moving to other things. Um, I found that doing those practical things, one, help your mindset, which is huge. The battle in the mind is huge. So, it helps your mindset. It also, I mean, like, it also helps you to start, like, when you're, like, caring for yourself, it helps you start loving yourself more in a way, and finding yourself worthy, like, you're really actually starting to feel it, not just like, "Oh, I know I'm worthy because the Bible tells me that," but no, you're actually, like, feeling it more. So as you do that, I find that that makes a difference. But yeah, just practical, like, taking steps day by day, making routines that, um will affect change into you, but doing it slowly and lovingly, and very much not like New Year's resolution things. I know we had, like, the quit day a couple days ago where, like, most people, like, don't make it past that day or whatever.
Mhm.
Like, definitely not like that. Like, if you fall off the, like, workout routine or whatever, like, so you missed a couple of days, just get back up and go again. Like, it's not a failure. You had some days of rest. Your body needed that. Go on. Or you had, like, some busy days because of commitments or whatever, with work or kids or whatever the case may be. Just get up and go again. Just like you're gonna get up and do the laundry again. Like, I'm not a failure because there's laundry sitting in there. It just still needs done, you know?
Yeah.
So you just really have to change the mindset and the way you're looking at it and have those slow um, actions that you just take day by day rather than trying to just change everything at once.
Mm. That was some good practical things. I'm one of those people that when people tell me, "Oh, just do this," and then they don't give me a practical step, I'm like, "But what do
Mm.
you mean? You just gave us
Yeah.
very clear, like, hi, here are 3 or 4 things that are very easy to do." Like the
Yeah.
rest piece. I ended up with, I have stage 4 endometriosis, and so I had surgery last year.
Mm.
And when you have surgery like that and you're very accustomed to moving very quickly, and the one day you feel good and you like do all the things around your house and then you can't move for like 2 weeks. I don't know if you did that when you had chemo and you're like, oh, I feel great today.
Mm.
I'm going to this, and this. And then you were on your
Mm.
behind for the next 4 to 7 days. Um,
Sometimes, yeah.
so when you said the rest piece, I was like, the Lord created it for us. And I think a lot of
Hmm.
times we are trained maybe to be like, okay, it's not beneficial to rest. It's not productive to rest. But in
Hmm.
reality, that's really what fuels us. So,
Yeah.
yes. Oh,
Yeah.
that
I
was really
think
good.
I think for a lot of us, like, we grew up in from parents and grandparents, like, we think about it, like, my grandparents, grew up in Great Depression times, and then my parents grew up in a time, like, from them, and it was they just, they grew up in very much a thought that, like, work was so glorified, and you're defined by your work, and while I do think hard work is a wonderful thing, and I think you should work hard. I also think you should rest, and I
Yes.
think you should play, and you should have enjoyment. I remember having a conversation with one person who was shocked that I read fiction books. Now, I read a lot of nonfiction books too. I'm an avid reader, I'm an avid learner. I love an actual real book. I love to hold a book. Um, but I love a good fiction book. I love a story, and granted, I fly through them pretty quickly because I get into them and can't put them down if they're good anyway. If they're not good, usually that I'm just done. I'm like, okay, never mind. I don't care what happens. But this person we were having a conversation. This has been like 5 or 6 years ago. We were having this conversation and they were just shocked that I would spend my time like that. Like, what a waste of time. Like, I should always be learning. And I'm like, no, my brain needs a break. And I have so much flying through my head, and this also could be a little tip for someone like me who, like, you're juggling lots of things and you've got a lot on your plate. I like a fiction book beside my bed at night. And I will read a chapter or 2 before I go to sleep because it turns off all the other stuff, and I just kinda get immersed in a story, and it's just kind of like a and it's different from watching TV because watching TV is that visual, or, like, scrolling on your phone, it's all you need to turn all that off, but if you're actually reading a book, you're not having all that input. It's a different part of your brain working, the imagination, where you're kind of, like, watching that, yeah, or, like, reading that story and thinking about it, but it also just allows you to kinda calm from all the things and turn off all the different things talking in your head. So, anyway, yeah, I feel like rest is so, so important, but having those different compartments.
Absolutely. That was a really good tip. I forgot about that. I used to do that when I
Mm.
was in high school and college, and I haven't done it since then. I'm like,
Yeah, we do it when we're younger, and then I don't know what happens when we get older.
I don't know. We end up in college and have to study forever and ever, amen, and fall
So true.
asleep reading the
That's
wrong
so
thing.
true. Yeah.
Anyway, okay, next question.
Yeah.
Was there a season where God seemed more focused on shaping your character than advancing your calling? And what did that form in you?
Mm. It's so funny, um, that you bring that up. I think that's something I have really realized in the last several years, looking back at my younger years, because I came right out of Bible school and I was, I was one of those people that I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna conquer the world and all this." There's only one person that saved the world, and he died on the cross and lives in heaven now, and in our hearts and those things. We are not the saviors of the world, but for some reason, when we go to Bible school, like we come out of it thinking like, "Ooh, I'm gonna," yeah. So I look back at those, like, especially my first year out of Bible school. Now, my first year out of Bible school, I moved to the United Kingdom. I lived in Manchester. I worked for a church. I was the only, like, young adult in the church. I was 21 at the time, and I was the only, like, single young adult. The next closest person to me was in the youth group. They were, like, 16. And then the person, like, above age-wise, like, everybody was in their 30s or, older, most of them married, whatever. So I'm just kinda, like, on my own, in a foreign country nonetheless. And although England doesn't seem foreign to me now at all because I lived there a while, but at the time, all my friends were still back in the town that I'd gone to Bible school in, and I would call they'd all gather on a Sunday night after church, and I'd call, and they'd pass the phone around so I could talk to everybody at once, because we didn't have all the
Yeah.
electronic options we have today. So this is old school calling where, we're paying by the minute, and I'm calling international, so it's expensive, and I remember, like, I would just be like, "Oh my gosh," and I would just cry after I'd get off the phone with them because I missed everybody and I was so lonely. But then I look back and I realized, like, God built so much in me during that time. Like, here, I thought it was all about my calling, and I look back and it wasn't about my calling at all. I mean, I was doing good things. I was a children's pastor at this church and doing outreach and things like that, and we were doing really good things, and I'm thankful for what we did, ministry-wise, but really all of that time was not at all about my calling per se. It was really about me and the grit that I need to develop and the tenacity and the willingness to pull up my bootstraps and or pull myself up by my bootstraps and then just keep pushing when life had challenges, because several years later we found ourselves living in a closed nation or a unique access nation, let me put it like that. um I was teach I have a teaching degree, so I was teaching school in that country. And we were very alone because we had to be very careful what we were sending out, what we were saying on social media, what went out in emails and all these kinds of things.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, it was a very different, but because it was much because of the language barrier and cultural differences, drastic cultural differences, East and West, it was much harder. But because of everything I went through years before, like, really, it wasn't harder because God had built so much in me that I knew what to draw on, I knew what to pull on, I knew how to press on. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think I've
Mhm.
been through multiple seasons like that where I thought it was about my calling or whatever, or the ministry work I was doing, and really it was about forming in me.
Mm. And you go through those seasons and you get to look back, but I feel like when you're in those seasons, you don't see what the Lord's doing. So then you start
Mm,
asking questions. You're like, "But what are you doing?" It's kind of like that waiting pendulum of like, "Why?"
yeah,
But then you get to look back and be like, "Oh, you built that in me so I could do this now."
yeah,
It's like he has to build our
100%.
character before we can hold it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. I always feel like whatever season we're in, there are things that the previous seasons put in us that allow us to walk where we are now
yeah,
and also going forward.
yeah. Mm. It would be nice if he told us that to begin with, though. It's like you're on the ride at Disney World and, like, you walk through and it has the name of the ride and all the risk on the side and all of the thrills that are gonna occur, and then you can willingly walk down the path to see if that's what you want. I would like a sign
Yes.
that says, "Hi, here is what I'm gonna build in you in this season."
Just so you know, here it is. Don't be afraid. Don't be upset. Don't cry when this happens because this is part of this season. Yes, I think that would be great. When we get to heaven, we can say, Lord, we feel like you should have done this. And he'll probably be like, no.
He's like, "You wouldn't have gotten on the ride."
Yeah, that's so true. Oh my goodness. There's some truth there.
Whew. Ugh, I'm gonna have to catch my breath again. Now that we've had a laugh, what have you had to release, whether that's expectations, timelines, your identity, in order to become who God is inviting you to be now?
Whoo, girl. Woof. Just about everything I ever thought I've had to. No, you know, I came out of Bible school at 20 years old. I graduated high school a little early and then I went to Bible school straight out of high school. And I came out of Bible school just thinking like, oh, I was going to go change the world, like I said. And I had an identity very much tied to being a missionary. And whenever we came back from the mission field 8 years ago, when my youngest child was born, I really had to release that and not be and it was hard because I felt judgment from a lot of people. Um and because there can be a real it's not a stigma, but like a real like almost a prideful thing. Well, like we're on the mission field and you've gone back to the States, like you've quit. But it's like, no, this is just what God's leading me in now.
Mhm.
And the country we were in, like I'm glad we came back when we did. Obviously 2020 happened. It would not have been good for us to have been there. It's really good that we were here. Um, in hindsight's 2020, but we obviously saw that, you know? And, along with that, when I did go through, walking through breast cancer, I live in a city that has multiple options for treatment. And
Mhm.
I feel like had we been in that country, I would have been in the States with our kids and my husband would have been there alone and we'd have been, it'd have been back and forth.
Yeah.
Instead, I was here with all the choices and all the options that I needed. Um, so I feel like God just knew and set us up.
Mhm.
But when we came back, like I really had to release who I thought I was supposed to be and go on this journey with God that's really kind of come all the way to where I am now, where we saw each other, at boot camp and even boot camp. I had no clue why I was there. I was just like, okay, Lord, I said yes, but I don't know what I'm doing here. But if I hadn't gone to boot camp, I don't think I would have done the coaching. And
Mhm.
so I can totally see what God was up to. Um, but, like, I really felt like when we were there in the fall, I was like, "Okay, Lord, I can see what you're really doing with all of this." These years that I felt like I've been wandering in the wilderness, I really haven't been. I've been preparing for where we're headed now, for the things you want. And honestly, like, I've been starting to pick back up those ministry things, not going to work in the four walls of a church. I love the people that do work in the four walls of the church, and I have such a heart for them. Um, and I really I walked out so burnt out and so overwhelmed and hurt, and that's another topic for another day. Um, but like, and I feel like now God's brought me to a place of healing where I can minister and speak life into someone who's in that situation. Um, but I really had to lay down what I thought ministry was supposed to look like because when we did walk out of that, I built a business. And I was really confused for a while. I was like, well, how is this ministry? What's amazing though is I get lots of opportunity to minister to people through the business world, like through being an artist. It throws
Mhm.
me in the path of people that I would never have been with in the four walls of the church. So it's giving me all these open doors. But yeah, I had to really like lay down what I thought life would look like. I never imagined ever living in when we left the United States, I never imagined living here again. And now I'm really happy and not necessarily like in a hurry to leave or go anywhere. I'm like, I'm good. I love living here. I'm happy, you know? But it's, like we've built a life, a home and all these things. And I never thought I would want all this. So it's kind of funny how like life changes. Um, your dreams change sometimes. Your plans change. I had a whole plan. I was gonna, like live my whole life overseas, and here I'm here. And now if God takes us overseas again someday, I'll go. I'll sell it all and pack up and go, because I realize that this world is not my home, and
Yeah.
I realize that I'm here to say yes, Lord, you know?
Mhm.
I understand that. Um, but sometimes the things that we want, like those desires, those dreams, are really things that God wants for us too. Like the home I'm sitting in, I never imagined being able to have because we were missionaries and so we could never have, but I always wanted that. Well, God had a plan. And yet
Mhm.
out of this home, we're able to do so much ministry. And welcome people into our home and love people and minister to people and host people and all these things. So I think there's sometimes that we all go through things that we have to lay down. But I think sometimes those laying down is really beautiful because it's not so much that God's taking those things away, it's that he's giving them back to us in a way that really, really actually fulfills the things we had in our heart. We just didn't know it. And we've got to trust him long enough for that to happen. And a lot of times we're too in a hurry. We're too like McDonald's, I want it right now kind of thing. Like we want everything instant, Amazon Prime, get it here the next day kind of deal. And that's not how God works, And so you have to trust God in the waiting and trust God with your dreams that he's big enough, powerful enough to bring it all about. And it's so much better than you would have done it yourself. At least like what I see, like it's so much better than what I would have done on my own. But it is a trusting God through the waiting.
Mm. We can go home now. That was like, I feel like you're sitting in my living room and you've just heard my life story and you know very little about me. And you just like
True.
spoke to my soul. So I'm like, okay, we're good. Thanks, Lord. Um, Geez. But you're so right in that. When you were talking, one of the pictures that came to my mind was the Israelites and how
Mhm,
the Israelites are like taken away, and then the Lord's like, I'm going to deliver you to the promised land. But they were not the smartest of people, me, not the smartest of people, and get stuck in the wilderness for 40 years instead of 2 weeks because they
mm,
had to develop that character before they could enter
mhm.
into the promised land so that the Lord could give them what he wanted. And
Yeah.
so with having to give up those expectations and those dreams, because we have some of our story that parallels, and it just makes me laugh because I'm like, okay, yes, I know the Lord is good, and yes, I know the Lord is sovereign, but it would like be really nice to know, and like that He's gonna do what's best for you because your ultimate job is to bring Him glory. So
Mm,
like, hello, that's what we're gonna do. But it's just so fun to me to be like, okay, the Lord has moved in their life, so He's gonna move in mine too. And the Lord has
mhm.
moved in their life, so he's gonna move in mine too. And
Yeah.
just getting to, like, hear your testimony of how, like, the Lord took you to places you didn't think, and he
Mhm,
grew you and developed character in you, and then he sent you back because he knew it was coming, even though you didn't. And then he
mhm,
put you in places that you literally dreamed of but couldn't grasp because you're like, "Lord, you put me here, so I can't have that." And he's like, "But wait, just wait. I'm gonna give it to you anyway." And so I love
mhm.
when the Lord gets to do that in other people's lives. It's really cool to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and he's not a respecter for persons. What he does for one of us, he will do for all of us, any of us. So yeah, it's not a like, oh, she's so special. No, no, she's not. she's got all her flaws too, people.
I love that. Okay, question. Because the podcast is called Not Just Waiting, we talk about the seasons of waiting that we're in. We talk about active waiting instead of passive waiting. I have defined passive waiting as Reanna sitting on her couch, eating peanut butter cookies and watching movies
Mm,
for waited entirely too long. It has a time and a place, but it is not something I should be doing every day or I will turn into a peanut butter cookie. So in seasons when we are waiting, we want to be actively waiting. We want to wait well. So my question for you is, how are you waiting well in this season?
Ooh, um, I am in a season of lots of behind the scenes, and I see that and I recognize that. Now years ago, I probably wouldn't have recognized that, but at this point in my life, I can definitely see that. So I am actively um building myself up, stirring up those gifts. I'm taking the steps that I do have, that the Lord does give, that there's like a green light towards, or an open door towards. Well, like when you reached out and said, "Hey, do you want to do this?" I was like, "Yes, I do." Like I didn't even think about it. I was like, "Yes." I literally had talked to the Lord not long ago about how I feel like it's time to get back into like sharing and openly speaking and things like that. And you emailed me like day or two later. I was like,
I love
"Yes,
when the
I
Lord does
will,"
that.
because I felt like the release of like this is time. I'd been waiting, I'd been stirring up, and that opportunity came. But it's also that it's like it's communing with the Lord about those things in that waiting time. It's talking to the Lord um about like, this is my dreams, God. This is the things that are in my heart, which he put there to start with. It's not like he doesn't know. You're not talking to him about something crazy. He knows those are in you. He wants to partner with you. He wants you to partner with him. Um for me, it's like studying. So yeah, I have books I'm reading. I have obviously studying the word, but then I have other books I'm reading as well, listening to podcasts, taking those walks, going to the gym, actively doing the things to be in a place to step out even more as the doors open. Now your season of waiting, you might be waiting for healing in your physical body, like I went through, cancer. You might be waiting, you mentioned earlier, you're waiting for a little person. um I've had friends who have gone through that, and we've believed God with them and waited with them, and for that day. And whatever it is you're waiting might look very, very different. um like I have one friend, I can give this example. I have one friend that she was really struggling. This was like 20 some years ago, but she was really struggling to um get pregnant, and they had gotten pregnant, but they had miscarried every time. There was actually something physically wrong, and the doctors finally did figure out what it was, and she was she was able to carry four children and give birth to four children um through a s- like she was it was very carefully handled. I don't know, some shots and some special things and all this. And this was, again, this was 20 years ago. So obviously things have advanced since then, but I know there are women who go through that. Um, and one of the things she did in the meantime was she honed like skills that she felt like a mother would need. So she like collected recipes and honed like the recipes. She she would offer to like babysit other people's kids, to like have experience around young children and watching young children and just being helpful and all this. She honed her relationship with her husband. They really tried to grow, because obviously once you have kids, it's more challenging. So she did these things in preparation. And when the time came, like, she was prepared to walk into it. But she like sowed those seeds in the ground. And I think that's really, really important. And we know people too that have gone that route and gone through adoption or different things like that. I know one family that went that route instead of going through different medical treatment. But she did the same thing. She did things to prepare, for being a mom. So you just, whatever it is in that season, whatever fits, because the situations are going to be different, but it's finding the things that fit for that season, and finding the things that fit to help strengthen you and prepare you for what's going. And if you don't have a clue, pray and ask the Lord, like, what can I do? And he'll drop things in your heart. I mean, the Holy Spirit is there with us. They will, he will drop things in your heart and guide you, because that's literally what he's here to do, is to guide you into all truth. So that might be like, make a meal and take it to your neighbor. It might be,
Mhm.
read this book, but he'll guide you into what you need in that season.
Mm. So good.
Mhm.
So good. Is there anything else you wanted to share with our listeners today?
Um, not not really. No, it's great. I mean, I could just talk for hours. I really can. I would say this, if something's resonated with a listener and you would like to talk with me more, you can reach out at my website or on social media. I actually am a real life person who answers you on social media. It's not like a bot. So yeah, very, very proud of that fact. I feel like we have too much bots. Yeah, so you can reach out to me, DM me. And yeah, I'd love to talk with you. If I am a coach, so if you're, looking for that, that's part of what I do. And I love to help creative entrepreneurs. I especially love to help kingdom women, um, who are, focusing on either getting their money in place so they can grow wealth and be effective for the kingdom in that way, or visibility online, or building a business, all those things. So I coach women with that. So if I can help you, love to talk to you.
Awesome, awesome. I will leave the links in our show notes to her website and her social media that I follow and like a crazy person. I'm sure you see my name pop up and you're like, "Aw," because I
I'm
just
so
like it all.
happy. I'm like, yay.
Well, this has been a joy and a privilege, and if no one else, you spoke to me, so thanks for that. I'm gonna go write in my journal
Yay.
all those things the Lord just dumped on me, which is fine. It's great. That's what podcasts are for, right?
Yeah,
But
praise God.
genuinely, it has been a joy and a privilege, and thank you so much for sharing your time, your talent, your brilliance with all of us. You are
Thank
really a
you.
gem.
Thank
Thank you,
you for
thank you.
having me. I so appreciate it.
We're so glad you could jump on today. So, friends, I am gonna turn off the thing so that you don't have to listen to us talk for even more time because I'm like I have questions. Anyway, friends, if you enjoy this, please go follow Sarah on Instagram and like all of her things. Otherwise, we will see you guys next week. Bye, friends. Thanks for listening to the Not Just Waiting podcast. I hope today reminded you that even in the in-between, God is working and you are not alone. If this episode encouraged you, would you share it with a friend? And don't forget to hit follow so you never miss a moment of truth, hope, and real conversation. You can find me on Instagram at reanna.ivy.hoff and join the community over on Substack for deeper reflections and weekly encouragement. Until next time, take heart, friend. God is in the waiting with you.